I set you guys a challenge on all my social medias to recommend any manga you want and I will read the first volume of it. I went through all my social medias, collated all of the recommendations, and I read, I would say 99% of them. So for this challenge, I was only reading series that I have not read already. There was a lot of comments of things that I've already read, and then there was 1 or 2 volumes that I want to do my own videos on, so they have been left out of this video, but rest assured I did read them. But let's get into my review of all the volume ones that you guys forced me to read. The first series is the one that I most recently finished reading, which is Can't Stop Cursing You. This is set in a world where curse gods can give people the ability to kill people at will, but if they do not do the god's bidding, they will lose their powers and probably die in the process. Volume 1 follows a curse breaker trying to hunt down a missing killer inside of a high school who kills people through cursed phone calls. Now, straight from chapter 1, we know who the good guy is, we know who the villain and the killer is, and it basically becomes a stalemate of who can outsmart the other. I will say this series is not nearly as smart as it thinks it is, but the basic premise was okay. I'm giving this series a 5 out of 10 because it thinks it's so much smarter than it is, it thinks it's so much more in depth than it is, but really everything happened exactly how we planned it. The protagonist never really had to overcome any issues. The character design was just kind of boring, and it's not Death Note. It thinks it is, but it's not. If you're looking for the stalemate of Light vs. L, just read Death Note again because this series is just mid. The next series is Dorohedoro. Now, before reading this, I have watched the anime, so I knew what was happening already, but then I went back and read the manga anyway. I really vibe with the series and the artwork is super cool, but to be honest, I don't really know what's happening in the world at any one time. Even after season 1 of the anime, I still didn't really know what was happening. All I know is there's a lizard guy who's trying to find out who stole his face and get his own body back. It's a cool premise, but they never explain anything, and it's just kind of balls to the wall in gory, grimy atmosphere, which I dig the vibe, but you also need to explain things to your viewers or readers. For Dorohedoro, I am coming for the lizard man and staying for the big stompy mommies. Where I really vibe with it, I don't fully understand it yet. Maybe if I read more, things would come to light more. But for volume 1, that's all I have to say. It's a 6 out of 10. I think if I did read more, it would definitely be higher up the list, because like I said, I do vibe with it. I am excited for season 2 of the anime, but for now, volume 1 of Dorohedoro is staying at a 6 out of 10. Staying with the same mangaka, the next series is Die Dark, which the only way I can describe it is Dorohedoro in space. The only thing I would say is it made even less sense to me. Nothing really happened in volume 1, and it took 5 chapters for our main protagonist to even get any sort of motive or drive in the story. But then his motive just boiled down to being the same as Dorohedoro, which is just kill the person who cursed you. It's literally Dorohedoro in space. At the end of volume 1, I was left asking, what is the curse, because they don't explain it? Why should we give an interest, and what is actually happening? And I know I said I liked the art style of Dorohedoro being grimy and dark and stuff, but this one just goes too far and it becomes almost nonsensical. You can't tell what is a background, what is a foreground. Everything's just dark and mushy and fleshy because the ships are bones and living organisms. I don't really know. It was something. It just left me feeling like it was a worse version of Dorohedoro, but like I said, this is only volume 1. It could get better. I don't know. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. The next series is Shy. So this was suggested to me by DV Otaku when he literally bought me volume 1 and told me to read it, so that's all the suggestion that I need. Shy is a very Japanese but wholesome take on the superhero genre. The lead character, Shy, is super cute and the series does have an interesting premise. I would describe it as My Hero Academia meets Sailor Moon by way of therapy. Basically, there is no conflict in the world. Superheroes are just there to save people from natural disasters, accidents, and like petty crime, but there are dark forces working within the world to use people's dark emotions to overthrow the world and corrupt people. And so basically that's where therapy comes in, because it basically comes to talking it out, hugging it out, and just making sure that we are good to each other. That's what I got from volume 1 anyway. I did really enjoy this series. The anime has since come out since me reading this as well, which I have not checked out yet, but the animation looks really good on that. I'm giving Shy a 7 out of 10. The next series was one of my first steps into shoujo, and it was Something Is Wrong With Us. It follows our lead character, a young girl who sees her mother get arrested at a young age for a crime she did not commit. She is suspected of murdering the leader of the house that they live at, where she makes sweets. This has always haunted her throughout her life, and when she grows up, she too becomes a creator of wagashi, traditional Japanese sweets, and ends up getting entangled with the same family that accused her mother of murder. The young boy that she fell in love with as a child, she suspects is the one that accused her mother, when really he seems to have a dark secret. They end up getting all mixed up, and maybe a romance blossoming, or maybe a fake romance blossoming, as they both play off against each other. I thought the mystery in volume 1 alone was super interesting. It had me engaged. I loved the attention to detail of all the shots of the sweets and everything like that. The craftsmanship and the art that went into creating those sweets was beautiful. It reminded me of like when you see food cooking in Ghibli movies. I love all the over-the-top shoujo passion shots. Yeah, I am just down for this series. I gave it a 7 out of 10 again. The next one puzzled me because I remember watching the anime for this as a kid and thought it was hilarious, but now going back to the series, my opinions have definitely changed. This was Bobobo Bobobo Bobobo, I think is how it's said. I just thought it was completely incoherent and it was completely absurdist, but I think that would probably work better as an anime than it does as a manga. I think it also works a lot better probably in its native tongue. I think a lot of things are lost in translation, which made it even more just absurdist. I ended up not being able to finish this volume because it was just hurting my brain and I was not laughing, I was not enjoying it. I just thought I was dropping acid and having a really terrible time. So I gave this a 2 out of 10. Sorry Bobobo. Maybe I'll go back and watch the anime sometime, but the manga is not for me. The next series could not have been any more different to Bobobo, and it was Tomo-chan is a Girl. This series follows Tomo-chan and her best friend who she has a crush on, but he sees her just as one of the boys, a tomboy that has grown up with him without really starting to realise that she is a woman at the same time. You can't just keep treating her as the same tomboy that she was 10 years ago. As she starts to develop feelings for this character, she wants to be taken more seriously as a woman and as a potential partner, while still having her brash, boyish side to her. It was a super fun and funny series. It was kind of relatable in parts as well. It had a small cast of characters, which is nice for a romance anime nowadays. Normally there's so many subplots happening, it's crazy. And it was my first time reading a 4-panel manga, so that was like super interesting seeing this different side. It felt more like a newspaper comic strip in a good way. I ended up reading more than just volume 1 of this. I think I ended up reading 3 volumes of this in total, so that just proves how good I thought it was. I was hooked throughout. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've started watching the anime now. I think it's on the right side of fan service as well. It shows you things, but it's not pervy, it's not gratuitous, it's good, it's the perfect middle ground for what you want from a comedy romance series. Yeah, I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. Score might seem a little bit low to you, but like that's where I would put it in my standings, although I did really enjoy the series for what it was. The next series was a super cute recommendation that I was not expecting. It is The Fox and the Little Tanuki. This follows the reincarnation of an evil fox spirit being forced to look after a baby tanuki whose family have died. And tanukis in Japanese mythology have superpowers, so it was a reincarnated god and a superpower baby, and he has to take care of them and he doesn't want to, but then it's super cute. The best way of describing it is Pixar and Ghibli had a movie baby and it was The Fox and the Little Tanuki. It's a super easy read, it's just full of adorableness. I feel like I could recommend this to people who don't read manga and have no interest in it, and they would still take something away from it and really enjoy it. This is probably one of the first things that I could get my wife to read, which is also crazy. So like I said, it's great for new manga readers, it's great for younger readers as well if you wanted to get them into reading more stuff and get them into manga. Just read it, relax, have a good time. I could not recommend this more. And because I couldn't really find a flaw in it, I gave it a 9 out of 10. Okay, so this next one is also something that I could not finish reading. I don't know where I got through. I think I got halfway through the first volume or something like that, but it did not hook me at all. I didn't really know what was happening because again, it was just felt like a load of random scenes thrown together. And that was Angel Sanctuary. I'm really sorry if this is one of your favorite series, but I just could not get on with it at all. I didn't understand. Basically, there was ancient angels having a war, and then their leader got killed and maybe got reincarnated as a dude on Earth, but I'm not entirely sure. Then 2 angels come and try and kill him and some friends, or maybe 2 evil angels coming. So then he's maybe got this heavenly power which stopped something from hurting his sister, but then his love interest got made blind, so then she started playing this floppy disk game which was connected to it somehow, and then they were in the park and one of the good angels confronted him saying that it was his ex-lover and he had the spirit of this princess angel leader. That's the best I can do to describe this. I could not finish it because I did not know what was happening. I honestly, like, I was reading it and nothing was sinking in, and the artwork was okay at times. I'm sorry if you like this series, I just could not stand it and I won't be reading it.
So, editor notes. I'm finally getting around to editing this video, I think 2 years after I filmed it. I started editing it a year ago and then it got put to the wayside for other stuff. I think the version of Angel Sanctuary that I read was a bad fan translation, because now that I'm going and finding pages from the manga to put into the episode, there's pages that were totally missing. Like pages with like huge letters like taking up half a page just weren't in there, and the dialogue actually makes sense and names are different, I think. So I think I read a bad fan translation. So the review is what I read of that. Take it with a pinch of salt. Yeah, maybe I'll have to give Angel Sanctuary a fair shake at some point. Maybe that's another video trying to redeem it for me. Just wanted to put that in there so that I didn't disappoint too many people.
The next series is a certified classic, especially if you grew up with anime in the early 2000s. You definitely will have seen this series. You will have seen this character about, and it is Hellsing. Hellsing is such a good series. It's exactly my type of jam. It's weird seeing a manga set largely in the UK as well. That was odd. Seeing how they wrote the English accents as well was kind of crazy. It kind of worked for a lot of them. The Irish one was a little bit rough. I really enjoyed this. This follows Alucard, the vampire. Basically James Bond but a vampire, I would say. He works for like the British Supernatural Board, essentially, trying to save the world from evil vampires and supernatural things, while also the church is doing it in a really barbaric way at the same time. And then obviously you have the evil vampires as well. Like, I think one of the priests was the vampire as well in the first volume, and it was such a good series. I've been itching trying to get the deluxe editions. I think there's 3 of the big deluxe editions, like the Berserk ones, and I was holding off. And now that I've read it, I'm itching to buy them because this series is exactly everything that I'm looking for. It is a seinen series. It does get a little bit gory at times, but you know, when you're reading an action vampire seinen series, that's exactly what you want. This is my type of series. I gave it an 8.5. I don't think there's something that I can say right now, having only read the first volume, that other people haven't said in much better detail. Yeah, it's a certified banger. Alucard is in Call of Duty as a skin now for a reason. Hellsing is a certified classic. It got remade. That was a certified classic. Hell yeah. After Hellsing, I took a straight 180 and went into another comedy romance series, the complete opposite, and I read Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible. This follows Junta, a guy who is so quiet in school that most people forget that he exists. Even his teacher, if he stands up on his chair and flails his arms about in class, won't even notice him. That is how invisible this guy is. And the titular Kubo, a female lead who sits next to him in class, and they kind of have a crush on each other, who just will not let him be invisible. She is pushing him to go out of his comfort zone, to be more outgoing, for other people to notice him, and just having a good time together. It's a super cute, blossoming romance comedy series. It felt like when you were just sat at the back of class in a class that you didn't care about with your friends, and you were kind of messing about while also having a romance in there. It's now got an anime as well since I read this, so I haven't checked that out yet, but I'm assuming that it's doing pretty well. It seems like the type of series that people would be interested in. Not too much else to say about it. It's not standout, but it is a good series to read, so I gave it a 7 out of 10. I would definitely recommend it if you like those sorts of series, but you're looking for something a bit more wholesome. Similar vein to Tomo-chan. On to the next series, and this is where things are gonna start to get weird, guys, because you guys recommended me some hella weird series. I couldn't find a lot of them for the longest time, and I had to go searching down the internet to find some of these. The next one is Oretama, or translated, it is My Balls. My Balls. This series is edging simulator. There is no other way to describe this series other than a guy's balls are possessed by a demon who has been promised the earth by God, and if he ejaculates, the demon will take over the world. How is this a premise that someone thought up? We have the demon's assistant coming and basically trying to get this guy off while he's just edging, and he thinks of any way he can not to finish. And he has a crush on a girl, so the demon lets him see the girl naked. And this series was funny. I was enjoying the series up until a certain point where the girl that he has an interest in, after he has already just half edged himself with the demon, he goes on a date with her, and then they get drunk, and then he proceeds to what is nowadays only described as sexually assault someone. And that's when I stopped reading at the end of that volume, because why do so many of these series end up getting into the realms of sexual assault and stuff like that? Before that, it was already edgy enough, literally, and it was funny, and you know, like, if that's what you're into, fair enough. But as soon as you start getting into the world of SA, I don't want to read it anymore, really. So it gets 3 out of 10. It would have got a 0 out of 10 if it wasn't good before that, and it might have been good after that. It's unnecessary. We don't need it. I'm glad people are progressing a little bit further, although Goblin Slayer and stuff like that still exists, so we're not fixed yet, but there we have it. My balls. Then, if I wasn't in a weird mental place after reading about my balls, I went on to read PTSD Radio. Now, this is a series that I've seen getting a lot of traction over the last year or so. It's a pseudo-anthology horror series, basically following similar themes. I don't know if each volume has a different theme. This first one was all about hair, and horror based around hair and hair deities from Japanese folklore and stuff like that, I assume. This series was hella creepy at times. Some of the visual storytelling in it left me with chills to the point where I had to stop reading it at night until the next night, and then I would start reading it again. I would not recommend reading this in the dark, because there's a lot of things about things coming out of the dark in really creepy ways, and even the panels between chapters tell this ongoing story of this weird hair ghost girl deity that looked like the girl from The Grudge and The Ring coming out of the book, and that was creepy enough that I can still see it in my head. I've seen it used as reaction shots on anime and manga Reddit and stuff like that in the past. Things that make you want to shave your head and never have hair again. People getting what they deserve sometimes if they fuck with sacred places or people in sacred places. Desecrating family shrines and stuff like that. A lot of people got what they deserved, and a lot of good people got things that they did not deserve and had to try and get rid of that. It was a hell of a creepy time. I don't know where this series goes going forward. I think in volume 1 there was about 18 or 20 chapters, because each one only lasts for a couple pages. It tells like these interlocking horror scenes in short bursts. So it reminded me of maybe like VHS, the horror movie, if it was even shorter and all had an interconnected theme. That's basically just a way of saying it's an anthology again. I thought visually super interesting. I had a really good time with this. I do want to read more, so hell yeah, 2 thumbs up. PTSD Radio, it's a creepy time. I just realised that I left one off of my list that I did read, and that is I Am a Hero. This is set in the starting of a world apocalypse zombie series, apparently, although in volume 1, absolutely nothing happens except for one girl gets hit by a car and gets turned into a zombie, and the guy is just a creepy incel, and I did not like the lead character. I've heard this series is fantastic, but you would not realise that from the first volume. The guy is literally just moaning about people sleeping their way to the top in the manga industry and stuff like that, and perving over news reporters. Volume 1 wasn't a fun time, but I could see that the creator had good writing chops and good art style, so maybe it does get better I probably will check out more. Yeah, it was a weird time seeing how much people praise this series, but I don't mind slow burn series, but in volume 1, if you finally see your first zombie at the end of volume 1, and even then it's just like somebody just stood out in the street, it's just one person, maybe pick up the pace and have less BJ under the table scenes while complaining about your co-workers. You normally want to really root for the protagonist in a zombie apocalypse, but this guy who is going to be the protagonist, I really just cannot root for at the moment, and I don't think I would ever be able to root for him. I forgot to rate this series because I also forgot to write it on my list. I'm going to give volume 1 4 out of 10. I think the series is probably a lot better than that, but this volume 1 did not show that. So yeah, go into this as you will. If you want to trust what the people have said, go ahead and read more. I would say definitely it's probably the 3-volume rule, because volume 1 was... Another series that I left off the list was Kimono Jihen. This was the story of a guy who is part yokai and a detective who is part Tanuki, I believe. He takes in this young boy who has been abandoned multiple times, and he's been looked after by his auntie who knows he's part yokai, which is like a ghost demon thing in Japanese folklore, and he takes him in after realizing that he is a god of pestilence, or ghost of pestilence and plague and stuff like that. He can basically kill things by touching things, I think. So he takes him in to also be part of a detective agency who go out and solve these sorts of mysteries. It had a similar vibe to a lot of Tokyo Ghoul, sort of how the cafe is a meeting place for ghouls. It had that sort of similar vibe, and obviously he butts head with the 2 ghouls. I'm calling them ghouls now. He butts head with the other 2 yokai hybrid things who are in there, the other kids. He goes and does one other case where this family has been plagued by a yokai of guilt. It's all these bugs that feed off guilt, and basically it's threatening to kill this mother and child because they don't have much money. So one of the kids rob a pair of shoes so that the family member can have a new pair of shoes. It was honourable, but they were feeling guilty, so then that's why they got sworn by stuff. But like I said, it felt very much like Tokyo Ghoul mixed with something newer like Jujutsu Kaisen, or sort of early volumes of Chainsaw Man where Deji is going out on his first couple of cases with Aki and stuff like that. It feels very similar to that, actually, now that I think of it. This definitely came out before, but I think it's been done better than this since. It felt very middle of the road. I probably wouldn't continue it. I definitely think it has got an audience out there. It's probably just not me, because I've read other things too similar that I think have been done better. So it's each to their own at that. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. On to the series that I actually remembered to put onto my list. We've got 2 series left. So I'm going to do Chobits first, and then Dick Fight Island in a minute. So the penultimate one is Chobits. Now this is a series by Clamp that I've seen many times around the anime sphere for years. I knew of Chobits before I really started getting back into manga and stuff like that, in the same vein that I knew about Cardcaptor. It's the same creative group, and Sailor Moon and all them sort of things. I had heard of Chobits, but I didn't have a clue what it was. Basically, a Chobit is an advanced humanoid computer. All computers in this world are android human-looking girls. Noticeably, they have animal ears on them. That's how you can tell that it's a Chobit and not just another person, I guess. And a down on his luck poor college student finds one in a pile of trash and decides to take it home, and this is now his personal computer. But when he boots it up, he realizes that she has no memories, no operating system. Basically him trying to discover about his Chobit and make her operational and find out where she came from. The only thing I will say in it is, again, it gets into, I know it's a computer, but it's still made to look like a relatively young female. As soon as he starts just putting his hand down her pants, looking for a switch, the subtlety of the writing and the metaphors are not lost on anybody that reads this. As soon as he does that, I instantly knock a few points off the score. The mystery was starting to get interesting. I also realised after a lot of reading that I was reading a version of, I think, the 3-in-1s. So I definitely read 2.5 volumes of this, more than just one. It was the omnibus ones. I didn't realise. I thought this volume 1 is going on for a long time. So I did read a lot more than what was in volume 1. So I can't necessarily say what was in volume 1. I don't think the mystery was really explained where it was going or explored too much in the first, just what would have been in the first volume. Obviously I was reading more than that. So I'm trying to think where the volume ended. I think the art style was really interesting. I liked the character designs. I thought the writing was pretty interesting. And then the twist, I mean, spoilers for a really old series, the twist that his landlord used to maybe be the Chobit's mum before the memory was wiped by maybe a company or the father figure of it. The creator, I don't know. Really interesting. Has he maybe had his memory wiped if he lived above this Chobit and never realized? I'm not entirely sure. I enjoyed this series. It had romance plot lines throughout. It had funny side characters in his male best friend and stuff like that. So it was interesting. I probably would read more if there was less young girls getting hands put down the pants without being able to communicate anything. Yeah, please stop putting stuff like that in my series, and if you're going to suggest stuff to me, at least make it consensual. I gave Chobit a 6 out of 10. It was better than average. On to the last series, the one that I think got suggested more than any other. You guys knew what you were doing. I kind of expected it as soon as I put out this challenge. The last series is Dick Fight Island. Yep, I finally had to rip the band-aid off and read Dick Fight Island. You know what? The artwork's good. You know what I mean? Those men are definitely glistening, rippled men. You cannot argue with the logic of the target audience wants to see that. So fair enough, yes. It takes place on an island where every 7 years, if I remember rightly, the strongest warrior from each island clan get together to have a fight to see who will be the king of this archipelago. How they decide the victor is who can make the other one ejaculate first. Yeah, so they start wearing armour to protect their member, but considering this island is very much based on men fighting and having sex with each other, essentially, the fact the main protagonist's master plan is to just actually basically start having sex with them from behind, you would have thought that would have been a basic technique that over thousands of years they would have figured out, but somehow no, it's taken until 2021 and this guy went to the real world and fell in love with another man for them to discover this technique. Rookie errors, you know, it makes it a lot less believable that you have these gay orgy fights. That's a sentence that I'm saying out loud with the window open that my neighbours might be able to hear. Thank you, guys. The fact that their entire culture is based around gay orgy fights and nobody thought to just... You know, they've done everything else. They've done feet, they've done hands, they've done mouth, they've done sweating on someone, I think it was, or just maybe just rubbing on them and making everyone sweaty. Considering they've thought of all that, they didn't think of just... You know, boggles my mind that was the last place that they thought. Yeah, there's definitely a target audience out there for it. I am probably not that, although to be fair, it was hilarious. That was definitely a read that I had to hide from my wife as I was reading it in bed while she slept next to me. Yeah, thanks guys for this. What would I give it? If it's your sort of thing, it's probably an 8 out of 10. For me, I would say a 4 out of 10. I'm definitely not the target audience for this. Yeah, there's nothing really else I can say about this series because it was just a bit wild, and definitely you guys suggested it on purpose, and I knew this series was coming. This was the one series that I knew people were going to say. Anyway, there were a couple series that I did not end up reading that were suggested. A lot of them I've already read in the past, like Berserk. I got suggested Berserk so many times. I've already read Volume 1. I've got the big deluxe edition Volume 1 as well. I just need to collect more of the series. So I didn't read that. Somebody suggested Gundam. There's like 10 different Gundam series. They didn't specify which one, so I assumed Gundam The Origins. Then when I realised how big Volume 1 of that was again, and how I just wanted to enjoy that series and collect that series, I decided not to read that one. Yeah, I did start, and then I had too much other stuff to read for this video. And the biggest one as well was Vagabond, which I want to collect and read that series and do a video solely on that series. So I did start to read that a little bit. I will leave that for its own separate video. This was not the right place for a series as good as Vagabond. This is where I put it back to you guys again. In the comment section down below, leave me any series that I have not already read volume 1, I will read it and I will do a part 2 of this video. Leave you wacky, leave you ecchi, leave you crazy. Please give me more shoujo and female oriented series, because I was really enjoying reading them, because I am new to them, so I want to read more. I actually really want to read A Sign of Affection, and the anime has just started, so I don't know, should I watch or read that? Either way, I want to do that one. Leave me any series at all in the comment section down below, and I will read it for part 2 of this video. To get that video, make sure you like and subscribe. Stick around to the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully this all recorded this time.